Today we are painting this bone golem. Now I don't have any skeleton figures, but the closest thing I do have is an assassin with a skull mask. And that should provide plenty of color for my spooky palette. I'm going to go black for the flesh of the golem and obviously white for the bones. I'm going to try to incorporate that blue color with the hair. I just recently got this Muso black in. It's actually very dark, and according to the label, a little bit dangerous. That's the fanciest paint I'm working with. Everything else is just going to be your standard craft store paint. I started off by coating the entire thing in black, and I was actually astonished about how dark this thing actually was compared to like any old run-of-the-mill black. You may not have noticed, but there's actually some jewelry on the figure as well, so I decided to give a little bit of gold to this golem. I saved all of the gold paint for every spine that I saw, but also a single skeleton with a rib cage towards the center of the figure. He had a very sassy look about him, and I thought, oh yeah, this skeleton's in charge. Then it was time to put some white on the bones. Took me about 2 coats for all of the bones, because the white tends to be a little chunky if you don't thin it out enough, but because you have to thin it out, it also doesn't give the strongest of coats. Now, I really wanted to incorporate the blue, so what I decided to try was a blue wash over all of the bones. With the exception of the gold bones, because I ain't that bold. It turned out pretty interesting. It kind of gave the bones a very icy look. But in hindsight, if I could go back, I would have gone with your standard black wash. After some curing time and some glazing, the figure was finished. I actually think this came out pretty good. Kind of like those early RPGs where you got the regular version of the enemies, and then later in the game they just rehash the same models but with a different color scheme. These things are absolute gold mines for names. The Vertebreaker, the Fee Murderer, Jacked Skeleton, Skeleton, the Spine of Crime, Pelviscerator, Claviciller, Radius Gladius, Osteodoom, Metatarsal Tyrant, Skullfucker, Boner King, Tibia Terror, the Bone Breaker, Marrow Monster, Calcium King, the Ricketeer, Humorous Doomerous, Rebellion, Skeleton, Catacomb Crusher, the Bone Drone, the Molar Monster, Bone Home, Rib Robber, the Femur Fiend.